Hello gamers and welcome back. I'm Rob, of course, or Warshak if you want to call me by my in-game name, and we're moving on to part 4 of the Knights of the Frozen Throne card review. There's a lot of cool cards in this particular episode that we're going to go over and talk about. For those of you unfamiliar with how we do our card reviews, we kind of just look over the card, we give the card a rating, or not even a rating, but we just rate the card based on its face value, considering we haven't actually played with any of these cards, and we have no idea what the meta is going to look like once the new cards hit. So the first card we're going to look at is the new Priest Legendary Archbishop. He's a 7-mana 4/6 battle cry shuffle. This effect is, by the way, crazy, guys. Shuffle a copy of your opponent's deck into your deck. So this is when you cast it. It's not his deck at the beginning of the game with 30 cards. However many cards are in his deck when you use this, that's how many cards you're going to take. And there's a lot of people saying that this is really good, this is really bad, this is bonkers. Free-to-play players have a comeback mechanic now because they can just steal your opponent's deck. Overall, let's look at the stat-wise, even though that's not really why you play this minion. The stats are severely lacking, but again, you're using this for its ability. Basically, you're never going to fatigue when you use this card as long as your opponent's deck has, I want to say even 6, 7 or more cards. I mean, extending the game onto that long is so critical, and on top of your opponent, I highly doubt is going to shuffle 5 to 7 more cards in their deck. Depending on how much of you draw, you could Power Ward, Shield, Northshire Cleric, and Circle of Healing and just go in like that. Besides that, this extends your kind of fatigue timer very much so. For the Priest, Warrior got a I wouldn't say a similar card, but it allowed them to also extend out fatigue. And as we know, Jade Druid has infinite fatigue. They never actually have to worry about going into there. So this is kind of a way to, I don't know if this is their way to kind of combat Jade Druid and the fact that they never fatigue. But normally by the time that they do fatigue, their Jades are so big that you just die, a turn or two after, because the cards are just immense and you're taking massive amounts of damage, like 60 plus. So will this actually allow Priest to defeat Jade? I don't think it will. I read a little bit on this card. If both sides of the segment saying, hey, this is, if you, let's say you're playing against Jade Druid and you copy their deck, and then now you have Jade cards and you're a Priest, you can keep up with them. Not really. Their deck is built to make Jades, and that's all their deck is. Meanwhile, you have your deck and a Jade deck together, which probably doesn't synergize that well, and they're going to have twice as likelihood to draw a Jade card as you, because your deck has other cards in it, right? So by the time that their Jades are 10/10s, yours might be 2/2s, 3/3s, 4/4s. I mean, even if it's a 4/4, a 10/10 is gonna Becky let me smash the shit out of your shit. So I don't think this necessarily is going to help the Jade matchup for the Priest. I don't think that's what was the purpose of this card. I think the purpose of this card was to give Control Priest the ability to not go into fatigue versus everything besides the Jade Druid. So we'll have to see where it lands. Maybe it's good against Jade Druid, but I just don't see it due to the fact that it's just so much quicker. Jade Druid's so much faster than this particular card. I mean, even though the Priest will eventually, yes, have big Jades, the Druid will always be quicker. Like, by the time you play this card, or whenever you draw it, the Priest is already, it's turn 7 by the time you play this card. By then, most of the time the Druid already has 5/5s, 4/4s, and by the time you actually get the Jade thing started, you're just, it's so behind. So I think this is good in regards to other control decks, maybe, but overall I don't think it's necessarily the card that's going to compete with Jade Druid, which is, I think, where a lot of players are putting their faith, and I don't think that was the purpose of this card. The next card is we're going to go over is the Embrace Darkness. It's a 6-mana Priest Epic. Choose an enemy minion at the start of your turn, take control of it. So this card was actually given a lot of shit based on what I saw, and there was a card called Corruption still a card called Corruption that Warlock has, and it says that, it takes a turn for it to tick, it costs 1 mana, and it kills the card. It doesn't take control of it. So a lot of people were giving this card shit, like, why wouldn't I just play it? Like, Corruption's not even played, and that card's 1 mana, and it kills the minion. But you gotta remember that having this here, let's say your opponent plays a decent-sized minion, you're playing against a control deck, so your health is relatively stable. As a Priest, you're able to heal yourself throughout the game. There's only 1 minion on the board. Let's say you Dragonfire Potion, right? Dragonfire Potion on 6. You have 20 health, 25 health. Your opponent plays a semi-big minion. There's nothing else on the board. You Embrace Darkness it. What are they going to do? They're going to hit you in the face for 6, 7, 5, whatever the minion's attack is, and then you just get it next turn. And you taking damage as a priest doesn't really hurt you as much as other classes due to the amount of healing your deck has. So this was kind of like, it looks bad at first, but then you think about it, and of course, if let's say both fields are filled with minions and you embrace darkness, your opponent's minion, it doesn't feel that good because they're just going to kill it off, trading into stuff, right? But if the field is blank and you're playing against a relatively slow deck like yourself, Embrace Darkness could actually give you some of the good. Not to say that this is going to work every time. This card is absolutely trash versus aggressive based decks. I mean, this card is completely horrible versus aggressive, mid-range. It's horrible against, but in particular, control versus control, which is where a lot of these cards are heading. I mean, the card we just reviewed, it's going to put 2 decks inside of 1 deck. Are you kidding me? You can't get any more control than that. So this kind of follows the exact same path as kind of the card that we had just previously been over with you know, it just takes time for the ability to, you know, get into effect and the snowball to continue down the hill. So I think as bad as this card is in certain situations, it could in fact be really good. You know, it's a mind control that costs 4 less mana that just takes a turn to cast, but again, you don't mind taking damage because you're a priest and you just heal yourself. So will this card be played? Probably not. Is it as bad as people make it seem? Not really, I don't think so. Moving on to the next card is Crypt Lord. I like this card a lot. It's the 3 mana 1/6 taunt. After you summon a minion, gain +1 HP. So it's already a 1/6 for 3 mana, which I think is pretty good. I mean, for normally druids have a very slow start, and their slow start is made up for with the ability to ramp, and that means they basically gain mana. They accelerate their mana gaining potential. You know, they Wild Growth, which gives them a mana. They Jade Blossom, which gives them a mana, and that's kind of their early game. Maybe a Wrath, but they don't have any minions. If you notice, Druid has no minions in the early game. Nothing. They have Jade Idol, which sometimes they use, sometimes they don't. So Crypt Lord kind of gives them a way to fight back on the board early on. The ability to have 6 HP is huge. Plus, every time you summon a minion again, it's going to increase it by 1. This minion is not for beatdown. This minion is not to stabilize the board. This minion is solely to protect my face from from Pirate Warriors and Evolved Shamans and all that stuff. That 1 attack doesn't really seem like a lot, and it's not a lot, but it helps drastically. I mean, they can't make it a 0/6 because it's bad, and if they make it a 2/6, it's too powerful. They wanted a static card where it has really high HP, it's difficult to get through, and just enough attack to be annoying. That's 1 attack. So I like the card a lot, and I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. I like that druids have alternative routes to early game that aren't just go face. The next one's going to be the Gnome, the 2 mana 2/3 Warlock card. Let's see if Warlock gets on the map. Let's read her ability. Battle Cry, remove the top card of your opponent's deck. So Blizzard has always strayed away from interacting with your opponent's hand and deck with discarding cards because it doesn't feel very good to a new player. I believe was relatively their exact words. They wanted to really stray away from this. Milling cards, however, is different because, you know, mill decks, you draw to the point of which your opponent has so many cards in their hand that they're discarding cards. But that's not actually the act of just discarding the card. Just boom, it's just discarded. There's no counterplay. You play a card, their card is gone. You know, you play a card and it discards a card from their hand, which is huge. If they ever introduce that ability, it's going to be so big. The Warlock has that mechanic, but they're using it on themselves. It's not necessarily your opponent using it. So I know, hopefully we can clear up that comment. But will this be played? It depends. If we see a card that comes out that's like, you know, for every card that's if this counts as a discard, which I don't think it would. Discard the top card of your opponent's deck. That doesn't sound right. But I don't know. Maybe if there's synergy to go along with this card, then maybe it gets played. It doesn't count as a demon. Currently, I don't really see anything with it. Because you could be like, well, Rob, discarding a card, what if you get something good? Well, you have the same ability, you have the same probability to get something bad. When you're discarding off the top of the deck, you have the likelihood of it being a really good card versus a really bad card, and if you're not going into fatigue, discarding the card means nothing. It's just a 2 mana 2/3, discard a top card of your opponent's deck, which could literally be anything. Like, it has no, it doesn't, like, it, no. So we'll have to see some combos. There has to be something else with this. If it's just this card, then this card is bad. If it's this card and there's other stuff that kind of fits in here, now we might be talking. Now you might be, I might sit down and eat some sushi with you. But until the more shit gets seen with this card, I'm not shaking and baking. All right, Stitch Tracker, the 3 mana 2/2 Battlecry. Discover a copy of a minion in your deck. I think this card is really good. It doesn't follow the same hunter, you know, relatively decent statted, resilient minion with death rattle, curve out, destroy all face, get your opponent's health to 0 as quick as possible. It does not follow that route. This follows the route of, hey, I'm not playing Animal Companion on 3. I'm playing this card that allows me to discover a better card for the late game, like Savannah Highmane on 6, you know? Houndmaster on 4, even though this guy's not a beast. Interesting. This guy is a pretend beast. He's wearing a beast hide. This should be not a hunter's best friend. A hunter's best friend is a beast. Interesting. Thinking. Nah, but this is a good card. I think this is pretty good. Overall, discovering minions out of your deck is always like, it's just good. Moving on to the next card. I like this card a lot. It's the 3-mana 1/4. You're like, but Rob, the stats suck. It's ability, fam. Whenever this minion survives damage, summon a 2/2 ghoul. So as we know, there's the new warrior card that whenever you play a minion, it does 1 damage to it. You've got whirlwind effects. You've got ravaging ghoul. You've got the new weapon that does damage whenever it comes out. And then again when it dies. So there's just a lot of, you know, deal 1 damage to the board, whether you're dealing it to just your minions or the board as a whole. And will a minion like this see play? I think maybe in a patron deck this could see play. Will it see a normal warrior? It depends. If control warrior is a thing and there's a decent amount of minions with 1 HP or 1 to 2 HP, maybe it sees play. We'll have to see. It's warrior is one of those finicky classes. It's not just a class where you're like, oh yeah, this automatically goes into warrior. No. We've got to buckle down. We got to test. And without testing, I can't tell you how good this card actually is. And I have no idea what the meta is going to look like. Also, we still have no idea what the Death Knight Warrior card is. That's one of the most that's the card I'm anticipating the most. I want that card to be so fucking good so I can build me Control Warrior for you guys and we can Resident Sleeper all the way down town. But until that happens, I can't give you any information. It looks good. This looks good, but will it fit? Who knows? This next card, guys. This is a Dank Tank 2000 right here. This is the new Shaman Legendary Death Knight card, and it says Thrall the Death Seer, and he says Battle Cry, transform your minions into a random ones that cost 2 more. So when you play him, the first effect is basically you get 2 evolves out of him and 5 armor. After that, your hero power goes into 2 mana, and it says basically it's an evolve for a minion every single turn. In the editing process, maybe I'll bring it above my head. Maybe I won't, Rob, remember. But if I don't, I just told you what it is. It's basically an evolve. So that's pretty fucking good, in my opinion. Will it see play? I don't know. Totems are really good right now. Totems are in. Bloodlust is in. Evolve is in too, though. But can you fit in this? Does this fit in an Evolve deck, or does this fit in Control Shaman? Does this fit in the Zoth Shaman? Because if you put this in the Zoth Shaman, you know, you're evolving your Death Rattles, or maybe you can evolve into cards that are Death Rattle, and that's where N'Zoth gets its, you know, its buck from. It's hard to say. I don't know. I think it'll be played. I mean, it looks good on paper. This looks really nice, right? But will it see play? I think it will. How much play? I don't know. Again, it's hard to say without actually playing with the cards. The 5-mana 5/5 dragon at the end of your turn, give another friendly minion +3 attack. $1. So the stats are pretty good, you know. 5-mana 5/5. It's a dragon. It's a common. At the end of your turn, so you're getting the ability right away. And basically, we value +3 attack at Blessings of Might, which is worth 1 mana. So you get 6 mana, or you get 6 mana, 5/5 that gives a random plus minion +3 attack. If this sits on the board, bad things are happening. This sits on the board for 2 turns, and you're getting cream of the crop. You're getting steamrolled. You're getting Moo Mr. Power Wagoned. I think it's a good card. I don't think it's the best card. I think it's a good card. I think it's going to be really good in Arena. I think it's going to be possibly pretty good in dragon decks. Right now, dragons are kind of lacking. If we think of dragons, we think of priest, we think of 5-drop, we think of dragonoid operative. But do we have any other dragons for that spot? Not really. Do we have a lot of cheap minions in priest that don't really have a lot of attack that need to get use? Yes, Northshire Cleric, Netherspite Historian, you know, Talon Priest. All of these cards are your early game minions, high HP, not high attack. How do you give them high attack? It's Mr. Scaleban here. He's wheeling and dealing +3 attack. And people are lining up to buy it. I'd buy it. I like them. All right. Meat Wagon. Also, guys, we're drinking we're drinking Jack and Coke. So for those of you like, Rob, this is a little bit different of a review. You're spouting words. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Well, you know, that's what happens. It's a 4 mana, 1/4 mech death rattle. Summon a minion from your deck with less attack than this minion. So looks pretty underwhelming, right? You're like, Rob, Meat Wagon. Underwhelming name. Picture looks pretty cool. Stats suck ass. It's a mech. Why is it a mech? I recommend you watch Jackie Chan's video he did on this. It's phenomenal. It's I wish I could produce that is some good high quality videos right there. So if you want more in-depth information on this particular card, he made a rap and it's sick. It's, in my opinion, much better than Ben Brode's. It's just good stuff. But basically what he said in the video, for those of you who don't want to watch it, you can buff this card. So you put this in some sort of token deck, or paladin, and you're able to buff it, right? And then once it's buffed, you're able to pull bigger minions out of your deck. Also, you could use it to pull, you know, if you want a Doomsayer or something like that, but that just seems bad, right? But the problem is that, like, let's say you buff this card and it turns into like a 5/9 or whatever, and then you kill it and it pulls a 1 mana. It just says minion with less attack, so it could be any minion. And at this point, it's random. So is this card really good? I don't think so. I don't think this card's very good at all. But you know, there could be a couple meme decks that come out with this where it gets buffed and then they summon something ridiculous, you know, for free out of the deck. So we'll have to see. Overall, I don't think the card's very good though. And I don't think like mechs right now, like why would you, like if mechs come back, this will fit in. So maybe an expansion or two, this card will be good based on like maybe a mech. Like you play a mech and it says if this card is pulled from the deck, gain blank. So there's actually a purpose to play Meat Wagon in there, but at the moment there's just not. 3 mana, 2/5 Mind Breaker. Hero powers are disabled. Well, this is a creepy looking fella. Like, fuck, man. I'm trying to think of where an Ice Crown this guy was. I don't recall an Ice Crown me raiding ever seeing this guy, because if I did, I don't think I would have raided there. This guy is looking real creepy. I know the hairdo though. The hairdo is undead. You know, all spikes. I actually had made an undead rogue with that hairdo, and then I never played him again. But anyway, it's pretty straightforward. Will the card see play? I don't know. Because thinking about how powerful are hero powers, is there any specific hero power that we're really wanting to shut down? No. When we make the Death Knight switch and we play Death Knights as our hero, and then our hero power changes, that makes our hero power a lot better. At that point, it's actually worth stopping the hero power. So is Mind Breaker a card that we're going to want to play to stop the Death Knight new abilities? Try to stick it to the board for a little bit? Maybe. We'll have to see. But overall, I don't think it's anything too crazy. But that's a food for thought. Necrotic Geist. Hopefully I said that right. Pff, you guys are going to yell at me. So this guy was on our way to the Professor Putricide. They like ran on the pipelines. I know this. I did Ice Crown. I am no pleb. I did Ice Crown on Heroic. I defeated the Lich King. I am legendary. 6 mana, 5/3. Whenever one of your minions dies, summon a 2/2 ghoul. Very, very similar to the Warrior card, but instead of when it takes damage, this is whenever your minions die. I think this card is horrible. Having 3 HP as a 6 mana card is awful. Awful. You know why they put this card in here? Evolve Shaman. Because when they doppelganger evolve, what is the stat of the minion they get? 6 mana. What's a shitty 6 mana minion? That guy. Phantom Freebooter from Loot Ship. For those of you who know the references, nice. For those of you who don't, I'm so sorry. 4 mana, 3/3 Pyrito. Battlecry, gain stats equal to your weapons. The heller. So if I've got an Arcanite Reaper down, and my Arcanite's a 5/1, because we always attack with it right away, because face is place, this guy's going to be an 8/4 for 4 mana. No, he's going to be an 8/4 for 4 mana. So he's basically a Bloodsail Raider. He costs 2 more mana, and he has slightly higher attack. Ooh, I think Bloodsail Raider beats him though. Because 4 mana is taken up by Naga Corsair and Kirin Tor. Or not Kirin Tor, but the Korkron. I don't think any pirates are rotating out. But when Naga Corsair rotates out, this guy will take its place. But until that, I don't think this guy will be played. We'll see if I'm right in like a year. It's a pirate too, which is good, of course, but it's not a good 4-drop for the deck. It's good, but it's not. Blah, blah, blah. All right, last card, Sunborn Valkyrie. Maybe. 5 mana, 5/4. Stats are that of a 4 mana minion, but its battle cry is really nice. It says give adjacent minions +2 health. I like how Hearthhead said, we like that cards are being printed where positioning matters. Well, this is not the hardest positioning. You put this card in the middle and it buffs the 2 minions on the side. Like, fuck. If that's the complexity that I don't know, I think it was Hearthhead was going for, like, fuck. I don't even think, I think it was GameSpot. It might have been GameSpot, because Hearthhead would put something better than that. But anyway, I like that they're making common minions that are pretty good. I mean, it's a pretty good common minion, and it gives the ability for free-to-play players to easily access cards like this, which I think is nice. Where does this fit? You know, stuff with health reminds me of Priest a lot. Anything with high health is like a very Priesty card, or giving health. So maybe we'll see this in Priest, but I don't really know. You know, most commons, especially ones that are kind of like this, find room in very weird decks for the most part. You know, they don't really print commons that fit in every deck all the time, but I like the card. You know, I like that they're printing decent 5 mana minions, you know. And even on top of this, if you watched our card review video previously, we had talked about them overly statting minions while giving them really good abilities. So, like, I would have liked this card, in my mind, to be a 5 mana 4/4. But unfortunately they can't do that because it would never get played. But if the power level of all the other cards went down, then you could do stuff like that and games would last a little bit longer. But that's a whole nother rant for a whole nother time. And if you watch the previous episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So with that wraps up all the cards we have for now. We'll be, you know, as more cards get released, we'll be reviewing those cards as they come along. I always enjoy seeing what you guys have to say about the cards that we've gone over in the comment section, or I happen to miss out on anything. I always look there for more resources. So with that, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Of course, I'm Robert Warshak, and happy whatever the hell day it is.